Baltimore Ravens are, of course, a team that was expected to do big things. In the playoffs last year, they disappointed. So how did they get from a team that was the number one seed in the AFC to a potential Super Bowl winner? That's the question for them. So the Baltimore Ravens, of course, they have Lamar Jackson at quarterback. You don't need to worry about that. Mark Ingram at running back. They have Gus Edwards, who's a good little backup for them, who actually is more productive than a lot of people think and know. My top priority for them is edge, my top need. McPhee is a free agent, and Judon is a free agent. Those guys were their main starters last year. They also rotated in Bowser and Ferguson, who are okay. Now, what the Ravens typically do is they usually bring their younger players into more prominent roles when they let go of a name like Judon. They've done it in the past with Za'Darius Smith. They did it last year, right? Judon, Za'Darius Smith, similar seasons this year, like last year and this year for Smith and Judon. Could they move on from Judon? I think the smarter thing here would be franchise Judon and trade him, because you want to get something better than a compensatory third-round pick, right? So trade Judon for like a second if you can. And the thing also with the difference between Za'Darius Smith and Judon is the fact that the Ravens were so good last year that they might think, hey, if we can't trade Judon, maybe we'll just keep him for another year because we might win the Super Bowl this year if we have him. But if we don't have him and we can't replace him, that might be the Achilles heel of our defense. So if we let go of him, that would be a bad move, right? So because they're in win now mode with the way that Lamar played, and they didn't know Lamar was going to be that good before he played, right? And they didn't know they were in win now mode until MVP Lamar Jackson stepped foot on the field. So it's a different mind process this season. It's a different decision-making process. Linebacker, I think, is a really big need for them. I actually brought up Jamie Collins as a really good add for them because I feel like he could both play on the edge and he could play inside linebacker, because he could be really good in these blitz schemes that Martindale loves to run because he's super athletic. But they missed Mosley last year. I think that was a huge reason they lost the Titans. They didn't have a really good linebacker in the inside, and they didn't have a really good run-stuffing team. Typically, the Ravens are excellent versus the run, and that wasn't the case last year. I think part of it, they need to upgrade their defensive line. Michael Pierce is a free agent. I don't think they'll be able to bring him back. So maybe they draft somebody in the interior. It's not a huge, important position in the modern NFL, but just bringing back, like maybe they get a Snacks Harrison who would be excellent to replace him, who wants to play for a contender, is a little bit older, but still a great run defender. Interior defensive linemen out there, they could go after like Sue. They could go after Michael Brockers. They could go after Danny Shelton is a younger name. Ashawn Robinson would be a good, probably cheaper name that they could sign. Timmy Jernigan, bringing him back would be interesting. There's a lot of names in interior defensive line and edge, so the Ravens are right in their wheelhouse for guys. I think Kyle Van Noy is an interesting name to throw out there because I think he would perfectly fit their system if they get rid of Judon. I think other names you could see, like usually they typically like bigger guys, like Carl Nassib would be like the big outside linebacker. Maybe they want to get more athletic. Quite a lot of questions with the Ravens in their front seven because they have a lot of revamping to do. But I think receiver is another need. Marquise Brown is going to be their number one for the foreseeable future. I think they probably draft a receiver, but like a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, I think would come for cheap. I think would be an excellent number two and be a great underneath option for Lamar Jackson and would be great in all their little underneath routes that they do with the tight ends and all the little pick routes and things over the middle. That would be good. Like a guy like Randall Cobb would be interesting. Maybe they want to add more speed, so they add Philip Dorsett. I don't know. Robbie Anderson, maybe, if they want to go that route. I think A.J. Green would be open to playing for the Ravens, but I don't know if he would be, first off, costly is going to be, like they don't have a ton of cap space, and then second, I don't know if the Bengals are going to get rid of him. That's a different story. But Yeah, I think they probably sign one or two under the radar edge guys, and you're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense when they sign them. And then they sign. I think they might draft a linebacker. I don't think they're going to go out of their way to sign one. They might bring back the guys they had last year. I think really what the Ravens are going to be doing is they're going to be signing a lot of lower tier free agents. They don't really need corners. I don't think they need to look at safety very much. They traded for Marcus Peters last year. The only position I think they spend on is receiver and maybe guard. Other than that, I think defensive and maybe a decent edge player because there's a lot of them. But other than that, I just feel like draft is the way to go for the Ravens for the most part because they're excellent at drafting and they're really good at finding those mid-tier free agents that really fit their scheme well, and they have great coaches. So we'll have to see what the Ravens do. I think they're another interesting team because they're a team very close to a Super Bowl, but they do have some holes that are noticeable. Edge, linebacker, and guard specifically are big-time holes on their team after Marshall Yanda retired. Bozeman overall is not very good, and we know they struggled versus the run last year, and they struggle to get after the quarterback when they don't blitz. So all those are big-time needs for the Ravens. We'll have to see how they address them. That's my idea for them.